welcome to Reality Hour. I am Adam Samuel. Today we are talking about week 2 of the X Factor UK. There will be no Masked Singer talk this week. The show is actually on hiatus until the World Series, the Baseball World Series is over. So it's going to be just X Factor for a little while. But for this podcast, I have my co-host Eric. How you doing today, Eric?
I'm doing good. This was a much better week from last week. It was so unbalanced. One of the key things I want to talk about in this podcast is why the hell they saved all of the people who were any good for the second week and had nothing good on the first week.
Yeah, it felt like all the talent was kind of shoved into this one week, and they just kind of...
And the premiere sucked, which is the exact opposite of the way you want to do it.
I don't know what's going on. There are parts of the show that I really don't like, but I guess the talent's okay. I still can't stand Louis Walsh.
I know, and I can't stand them either.
He is just like slimy and gross, and
he's terrible. But the good news is I got to diminish him in my recaps for MJ by just not even reporting on what he says. I can just write Louis liked it for every single performance, and that'll just work.
I mean, I'm a big fan of Reddit, and every couple months that clip of him with Mel B just resurfaces, and it's just it came up last week, and I was like, oh my god, this guy, he's really gross. But yes. Anyway, that is not the point of the show. The point of the show is the contestants. At least that's what the premise is. They try to promise, but you never know. Overall, very, very talented. Very talent-packed week. I think we saw the winner this episode.
I totally think we saw the winner of this episode.
There's one contestant I can tell Eric is going to be a pretty big fan on, but we will talk about that one. Eric actually, in his blog post, called this contestant one of the best singers ever. What was
did not say that.
All right, well, we like hyperbole here at Reality Hour, but
I did not. And actually, if that's who you think I'm gonna pick, you're wrong.
Yes, we are going to. Since this is a bit of a shorter podcast, since we are only going to be talking about one show, we are also going to be doing a Reality Hour draft at the end. We are not, since there's 12 contestants remaining.
13 remaining.
13 remaining. We are just, since it's pretty.
There are only 6 who have a reasonable chance of winning. We're only going to go for our top 3 each.
Yes, we are both going to pick 3. We will go back and forth. It's going to be just smaller thing.
And if any of them don't pick wins, God help us all.
The point of it is bragging rights, essentially. But we will be doing that, like I said, at the end of the show. So let's get into some of these contestants. Shall we, Eric?
Let's start.
All right. So kicking off the show, the first performance of the episode is a name that until this point, I had no idea who this person was. And then as soon as they said Love Actually, as someone who I've seen this movie quite a few times. My family weirdly is very into it. As soon as they said Love Actually, I knew exactly who this person was. And have you ever seen the movie, Eric?
No.
So there's a clip of her at she has this plot with Jojen Reed from Game of Thrones, who when he was 10 or something, probably even younger, and she has this
in the movie, right?
She has this big moment, and the moment is fantastic. I have family members who just watch it for that performance. It is a big moment, and it's not auto-tuned or anything. It's really just her singing. There's some pretty cool interviews that the producer was talking about. I think it was the producer, where he was saying how he was worried that people were going to think they auto-tuned, but they left it entirely just her singing. She is a phenomenal singer, and now it's 10 years later, more, I don't even know.
More.
She's back. She's all grown up. She was a little kid in that show, and she's one of my favorites this season, Eric.
Don't blame me at all. I think that she did 2 songs because Simon hated the first one, which I don't blame him. She was kind of off key on the first song.
I thought the first one was good.
I thought it was a little off key. It didn't seem right to me. But Come Together, on the other hand, was better than anyone last week. And probably everyone last week put together it was better than.
Low bar.
Not perfect.
Low bar, Eric.
What?
Low bar.
I know. It was not perfect by any stretch. But As a way to set the tone for a much better episode, she did a good job. She's in my top 8.
The thing about Olivia is I think she can win. I think she's one of the few contestants that has a shot of winning because she is, I don't know, I mean, that performance was years ago, but if she's still just a fraction of what she was then, I don't know if this was just like a weird showcase, but I believe I have very high hopes for this contestant moving forward. She is someone I really have my eye on. Her two performances, I really hate. It's so played out, the Simon asking for another song, to the point where I almost rolled my eyes a little bit. I was like, but her come together performance, first of all, it's like they overdid. It's the overdone thing of Simon asking for a second song, and then it's a very overdone song. It's like a double whammy. But it was better. I think this song 100% needs to be retired from these competition shows. We actually included it in our podcast when we were talking about the most overdone songs. But here's what I'll say about Olivia. She turned in a B+, and everyone last week was below a B and maybe one or two B's, B+, like close.
No, looking back on last week, the one person that I wouldn't give anyone above a B- last week.
I would have given Kevin McHale. I would B+, B. I think Olivia's above him, honestly,
yes,
I think.
Absolutely above him.
But the thing is, like I said, I think she can win. She is someone who could have like a resurgence of the musical career. People will remember her because that movie was such a big thing. Eric, I really think you should watch that, the performance. You should just in the context of the show, just because it is such a big thing and kind of everyone's going to be talking about it.
I will definitely go watch it at some point, yes.
I watched it right before we went live. It's still just incredible. It's the Mariah Carey song.
Okay.
But before it was like really huge. It was kind of, I don't even know. When did that song come out?
I can't remember a time when that song wasn't.
The universe was created, and then there was that song. That was the second thing that happened. Yeah, I enjoy Olivia. High hopes for her moving forward. I think she has a shot.
Not a huge shot, but I think a little bit of one, personally.
All right. Well, moving on. It's funny. I now know two contestants in the show. Like going into this performance, going into the season, I knew Kevin from Glee, and now Olivia. I didn't know that attachment from Love Actually. Now that I do, I have the two contestants. It's like my two little horses in the race. But next up, we have Johnny Labby. I don't even know. He is performing a very different rendition of Feel It Still by Portugal the Man. A song that I really dislike because it's been so played out on these shows recently, but his twist was very original, I thought. What did you think, Eric?
I loved the arrangement. I did not like his voice. That's simple. I loved the arrangement of the song. I love that he flipped it. It sounded enough like the original that you got the taste of. If you do like the original, which I kind of do, you got a taste of it. But it was different enough that you weren't sick of it. And I think for originality alone, he was better than everyone except for like Max and Harvey last week.
He reminds me of Uche from American Idol last season, where he's got the creativity. The creativity is an A+, but the voice is just...
Uche had a much better voice.
It's true. Uche was better, and I think Johnny is kind of I don't want to say like a poor man's Uche, but it's kind of in that vein. But the fact that he is that creative type will always, in my opinion, I will always give him the edge over someone else, because at least he will try to do something different. At least there's some unpredictability, and that makes it a little bit more fun to watch. But the fact that his voice is kind of thin, and I don't think it's going to hold up when you compare it to like Olivia and some of the other contestants.
He's gone by week 3.
But I'm excited. Like, at least there's something there. I mean, the arrangement was, I don't know. That's the thing also with these shows, because you never know if it was actually his arrangement or the show's arrangement.
It was a combination, that's my guess.
All right, but I appreciate creativity. I will always champion it on the show. So if it comes down, unless it's like one of the few contestants that I'm really a big fan of, he will get the edge. What do you think is the best case scenario for Johnny?
Out of 13, I think 7th is what he should be hoping for.
So sad. Like he's just like so discounted so easily. I hope he can pull it off because I'm excited to see.
I mean, he deserves 7th, but that's what he deserves. So.
All right. Well, moving right along. This is a very short episode. Also, weirdly enough, no one was cut from this episode. Everyone who performed advanced.
Yep.
Which at least is one thing they got right. Maybe they can acknowledge that last week was kind of really poor.
The shocking thing is that I showed any clips from the previous week, this week, to open the episode. I was like, why would they want to remind us of it?
Yeah,
I was confused.
I wish the Masked Singer was on because last week we said the Masked Singer was better.
No, this week X Factor was better than the Masked Singer last week.
But it wins by default because this week. I mean,
2 weeks.
No, but this week they didn't have an episode this week to compare. That's I don't know. Next up, Megan McKenna. I have no idea who this woman is, but she is 26 years old. She's apparently been on a few shows. Eric, are you familiar with this lady?
I am not familiar with her until this week. She is a total ringer. Had a record deal. 26, did a few reality shows. Sings an original song. And frankly, this performance was better than everyone last week put together as well. I think she made everyone else on the season look like an amateur, which, to be fair, most of them are. Song is pretty good. She's got a good voice. Not stellar, I don't think, but good enough. My favorite part of the whole segment with her was when the producers showed Max and Harvey saying, "Our mom's not going to vote for us anymore. She's going to vote for her." Which, that's like the most unsubtle way of saying, vote for this person that I've ever seen.
There is a producer who is really rooting for this girl. I think
there's more than one. I think it's all the producers.
Yeah, I think she could win, Eric. I think she could win.
I think she at this point she's gonna win, I think.
All right. Well, for me, the original, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was beautiful. I don't think you were as high on it as I am. I didn't think it was original. I was just watching the YouTube clips and I was like, oh, this is a pretty good song. I was like, I've never heard of this, but it's pretty good. And I was actually gonna ask, were you familiar with the song ahead of time? But it's really beautiful, really good.
Yeah,
in the top tier of kind of the
original
music that I've heard on these shows.
Oh, I do like her a lot. I downloaded her performance. I like her a lot. She's one of my two favorites.
And like I said for Olivia, I think this is a contestant that can win. And that says a lot. I think she could win, Eric.
I'm not going to give my cards away yet, but I think she is going to win.
All right. Well, the thing is, the problem with the show is for a show like the X Factor, you need the versatility card. You're going to have to do some up-tempo songs.
Not necessarily. Not in the 6-week season.
The problem is that I think Megan is kind of a singer that's kind of more, she benefits from the smaller, more intimate setting. Yeah, and I think on the bigger stage, what?
I mean, I think they can make it work for her if they want to.
I'm just worried because we've seen contestants kind of get swallowed where it's kind of.
Yeah, but that's only the contestants they don't like, and they clearly like her a lot. They're gonna make it work for her.
I mean, there's only 5 contestants that I think can actually win this show, but
yeah, five is about 3 more than I would say. I think there's 2 that can win.
It's funny. This episode was kind of like a sandwich where you have the beginning and the middle, and they're both really good, and then everything kind of in the middle is kind of not good. It's like a bad sandwich. You got good bread, but the center kind of, the next 2 contestants kind of take it down a notch, because next up we have Ricky Lake, who I have no idea who this lady is either. But she's performing Us by James Bay, and it's pretty bad. It's really bad.
Okay, so let me tell you a couple of things for context about her. For one thing, apparently she is very famous in the UK because I stood up for her before she even started singing. That's the first thing. The second thing is, she was on The Masked Singer the first season in America.
Really? How did she
Yeah.
do?
Not well, as you would expect, because
What was her costume?
I don't remember. You can look it up, but she was on season 1 of The Masked Singer. She made it like to like week 2 or 3. Um, I I know that the song she sang was about losing her husband, but I hate to say it, this was awful. And particularly when you compare it to what that came right before it, it's just like, and now back to karaoke hell. I'm like, ugh, why?
I mean, the voice just isn't there. Like, it's just.
And then she screws up the lyrics at one point, which I can forgive, but I can't forgive someone whose voice clearly isn't there. So.
She came in 7th on The Masked Singer.
Okay.
She was a raven. Huh.
Okay.
I mean.
Huh. Funny that they didn't reuse that costume this year. Wink, wink.
Wink, wink.
Wouldn't it be amazing though if Raven was dressed as a raven and no one would have guessed it? That would have been so great.
For sure that it is Raven, but it totally is Raven. Anyway, it's funny. I just watched the performance. I didn't even know there was. What's the story behind her husband?
He died.
Oh, was it recent? Was it?
I don't know. Somewhat recent, I think.
Yeah, this. I can't. I don't like to separate this. You kind of have to separate the story from the voice a little bit here, though, because this.
Yeah.
This.
Not good.
It was really rough. Like, I don't think. I think it was the worst performance of both episodes, honestly, which is.
Not of both. It was the second worst of both. It was the worst of this one.
All right. Well, let's move on. Let's talk about V5, which I was just reading your blog coverage of it, and just the more I read, the more it made me slightly angry.
Which part?
Could you explain what this act is?
For 5 social media influencers.
And they met 7 days ago?
Evidently.
How does that work? There's probably been like groups that have been bigger that they could have used. Why did you have to go with this?
I don't know, but that's what they did. And I'll say this as someone who works on social media for a living. I wrote this in the recap. Being a social media influencer does not count as being a celebrity. I refuse to live in a world where that's the case. Performance itself was fine, I guess. I mean, I forget. Simon's comment that he used like over and over again for these 2 weeks was good for you. And I feel like that's the right comment for most of these acts. Good for you for showing up and trying a thing. What did you think of them?
So for me, V5, I mean, they're good. They're nothing special. Like I can't see them winning. I mean, the song first of all is just really weird. Like I've never heard it before until now.
I've heard it.
I think like commercials, but it's just here's what it is. It's played out. Like I've seen this before. This is an act that is not a winning act. It's an act that 1 or 2 weeks and then
yeah, at best.
At best. There's not really, honestly, that much to really say about them. But let's move on to the final performance, arguably the best performance of both weeks. Definitely at least one of them. I'm going to very roughly butcher the last name. I apologize. Victoria Ikanoye? I apologize. I don't know who this lady is either. Could you just introduce her?
She's an actress. She sang House of a Rising Sun. The one performance of both weeks that I could say was a great performance, period, and not just a great performance compared to the others. Excellent control over her voice. She totally stole the show. This is the performance of both weeks for me.
She is so good that she is definitely not going to win.
That's my feeling as well.
It's like there was that lady, I think, last season, Shan, right?
No, I think she's better than Shan. But yeah,
Singers like this, who are this good this early on,
don't win.
don't win. Which sucks, because she seems like a lovely lady.
I will say I cannot complain about last year's results at all, though.
I mean, I can't either because I won the draft.
Okay. I don't care.
It's really good. It's an A. It's an A minus for me.
This was an A performance for me. This is the only one I would put in the A range of both weeks.
For me, I'm just kind of really sick of this song because I've heard it so many times.
Oh, done to death. But she nailed it, so give her credit for that.
I give her credit. It's just...
And I loved seeing Allison singing back up again.
It is always good when there's Allison.
Yeah.
Like, she makes every performance, even if she's just the background. What?
She only ever pluses a performance.
Ever. I feel like she should have been a celebrity.
Yeah, we talked about that last week. Yeah.
I still love that lady really quick. She's epic. We should really quickly, before we move on to the draft, I do want to touch on, we did have one act who did not audition, but got a bit of a bye into the last round. Can you kind of explain it for the viewers, Eric?
So I even forget his name, honestly, but what's his name?
Vinnie Jones.
Vinnie Jones. Now I remember. So his wife died, I think, like the week before the filming was about to start. And so Simon called him up and said, "Hey, would you want to do the show anyway? We'd like to have you." And then he said, "Sure." So he's in the top 13.
All right.
And the other postscript to the episode is that Jenny Ryan was cut in the episode, and then they brought her back as a wild card between last week and this week.
That's the wild card? All right. Anyway, what are your thoughts about Vinny getting a bit of a pass here to move on to the next round?
I mean, if you skip like 3 rounds, it'd be different, but he skipped 1 round, so I'm not going to complain too much.
All right. Wild card. So we get the results. As you said, we lose Colin Edwards, Haley Hasselhoff, and Jenny Ryan. I think I put Haley Hasselhoff in my top 3 last week, which is
kind of sad.
That's kind of sad. You were confused by Jenny got cut. I was confused that if I'm thinking it's the same person who I think it is, that we lost her, that we lost Haley. Colin Edwards, yeah, I mean, there's quite a few other people I would have cut here. I mean,
yeah.
I know we have a season where we're going to have double eliminations. I wish we'd cut
half
6 of them. People here.
Yeah, I wish we could cut half of them as well.
And I don't think we even need a wild card, and then we could have, like, 1 week cuts, you know?
Yeah.
But that is not how it went. So, what was the whole point of this round then? If we only lost 2 contestants, like why didn't you just have it be a live show?
Who knows?
Because
I think it's because they wanted to give us time to know everyone, to see everyone once before the live shows. I think that makes sense, actually.
But if it's only 2 people, it takes out so much of the drama. Like,
we thought it was going to be 3 people until the wild card was announced.
I don't know.
Whatever.
So, very quick episode of Reality Hour. So, like I said, we are going to be doing a bit of a draft here. We are going to be picking 3 people each. I don't think we need any more. I would even maybe narrow it down to 2, Eric.
I want to do 3.
All right, you want to do 3. So, in true Reality Hour fashion, I guess I'm going to defer to Eric for a coin flip. So I'm going to go, I'll go tails.
Heads. Hey Siri, flip a coin.
It's tails.
You were tails, right?
I was tails.
God damn it.
So, I'm going to pick first. I feel like I know how you're going to go for your first pick. So I'm going to go with a singer who I think has the best shot of winning. It's going to be Megan. I'm going to take Megan onto my team.
Congratulations.
I I think she can win. If she doesn't get swallowed, I think she really can win. As much as I enjoy Victoria, I don't think she is a winning act, which, based on the trajectory of how these shows have gone and how much I've watched these shows over the years, I think Megan has the better chance.
And I agree, which is why I'm upset, because I would have picked her first.
All right, so Megan's on my team. Eric, we are now going to go to you. Who's your number one pick?
Max and Harvey.
Really?
Really.
All right, tell me why.
Because they're two boys. Simon doesn't have a boy band signed to his label right now, and I think Simon wants one. So there you go.
I don't know if they can win, Eric.
I don't think they can either. I honestly think Megan's the only person I think who can win at this point, so I'm kind of mad, but they're my second best.
It's funny. I think I'm going to get my top 3 picks here.
Okay.
All right, so
Pick Victoria.
I'm not going to pick Victoria, actually. For my number 2 pick, I am going to go with one of the 2 names I know this season, who I'm pretty excited about, who I think also can maybe win. I'm going to go with Olivia Olson. I think she can win, Eric. I think Megan and Olivia, those are kind of the 2 names I'm looking at here. What do you think? What do you make of Olivia?
I think she's good, but I don't think she's gonna win. So
I think she
happy.
can win.
She could, but it's highly unlikely. I think Victoria is more likely, so I'm gonna pick Victoria for my second pick. See how I got for 2. I got 2 out of 3 that I wanted, so I'm good.
All right, Victoria. Like I said, we talked about her earlier. As much as I enjoy her, I do not think she can win, which is...
Never do I, but I think she has a better shot than some people, so go ahead, pick Kevin.
Yep, I'm going to go with Kevin. I got all 3. I got my three picks. Kevin is going to be my last pick just because my bias, because I know him he's one of the 2 contestants I actually know from this cast list. Do I think he could win? Probably not. Do I think he's better than half the contestants remaining? Yeah, and that's kind of my reasoning here.
Okay, now you're ready for my controversial pick?
Is it going to be Jenny Ryan?
It is, and here's the reason why. Let me explain why. Because a lot of people hate her. You, my mom, lots of people out.
I don't hate her. I just don't
like her
think
pick.
she can win, and I don't think she has a particularly strong voice.
I don't either, but of the remaining contestants, she's the one that people actually were pissed off when she got cut. Like, lots of people on Facebook and Twitter were pissed when she got cut. And so I think maybe, probably not, but maybe, probably not, but who knows. That's where we're at, people.
So, to recap, my team is Megan, Olivia, and Kevin. I've just realized, correct me if I'm wrong, I have 3 out of 4 acts on the unders on my team, right?
So, yeah, probably.
I'm really putting all in on that. And Eric he's splitting between the overs and the groups.
Yep.
I don't think any of the overs are going to win. I don't think.
Who knows?
But I don't know. I think I've got a good team. I think
you got the winner, so we'll see.
All right. Well, any other thoughts on kind of the episode? The shorter episode of Reality Hour, but do you have any
Reality
other
half hour this week?
Reality half hour is what this week's going to be. I mean, when we have the Masked Singer, it's going to be a bit of a double, but it's just the one episode. So yeah, it's going to be really just X Factor for the next couple of weeks until we get the return of
Mexico, I think, but anywho.
I want a crossover between baseball and the Masked Singer.
I don't.
Where all the baseball players are wearing ridiculous costumes.
Okay.
And like a thingamajig is throwing the ball. And the penguin is...
You just came up with the dumbest show ever.
I would watch that show.
I know you would.
And bonus points if we could vote. And like we had the baseball team, and every week, like, there's one less player on the team. So all of a sudden, the baseball team doesn't have a third baser anymore.
Okay.
We are going to be back for the next week of the X Factor. Are we live next week? The X Factor.
X Factor goes live on Saturday night. Yes.
All right. Well, that's one thing to look forward to. I want to say I'm Adam Samuel. You can find me on Twitter at AdamSoapbox, or on my two websites, AdamSoapbox.com and AdamCVblog.com. You guys know the shtick by now. If you're here at the end of this podcast, you know. But where can we find you, Eric?
EricAscher.com, Eric_Ascher on Twitter, EricAscher01 on YouTube.
This was the inaugural, the first ever episode of Reality Half Hour. Thank you guys so much for joining us. We will be back next week. Until then, take care. Peace.